Hello again. Apologies for the appearance. I'm not someone that does very well in the hot weather. I've got a fan on in pretty much every room of the house that I'm sort of in this evening in an effort to cool down. But no, it's not cool, and what's heating up? It's going to be the Premier League, with it starting again this weekend, or this Friday, tomorrow. So I want to have a bit of a look down on some of the games, sort of maybe a few predictions, a bit Garth Crooks like maybe from BBC, or well, I suppose it's Troy Deeney now, which I don't quite know whether that's going to be better or worse. Time will tell. Yes, let's get into it. With the Friday night game, you've got Man United against Fulham. Fulham recently sort of strengthened with a couple of players, in particular sort of Emile Smith Rowe, I think will do very well at Fulham. And you've got Man United with Eric Ten Hag saying in press conferences that his team isn't quite ready for the league season, which is worrying for a team that should be going for Champions League football. However, I'm still firmly of the belief that Man United at home should get the job done, even without the conventional striker, which they might not be playing, potentially playing a similar sort of team to that which sort of played Manchester City in the Community Shield. So, my personal opinion, I'm going to go with Man United to win 2-1. I think the defence isn't sort of settled. I don't know whether all the Delict stuff's gone through yet. Not necessarily sure on the fitness of some of the other defenders, in particular, sort of people like Luke Shaw and how many minutes he might actually play, and whether Mazraoui sort of gets a run in it or whether Dalot does. But United 2-1 win should be comfortable. They might make it more difficult for themselves. Time will tell. And then we've got the early kick-off on the Saturday. We've got Ipswich against Liverpool. Very excited for that. Can't unfortunately get tickets for that, as it's a sellout. As return to the Premier League, one of the biggest teams in the league. Unfortunately, I do think this is very much a game that Liverpool win, regardless of whatever team that they do plan on putting out. I just think there's going to be a difference in quality there. But I think Ipswich will give them a spirited game, and I think they will sort of make it a lot tougher than people might think. So I'm sort of going for the 2-1 Liverpool win, and they might sort of be quite surprised by sort of how Ipswich play and sort of the benefit of playing at Portman Road, which should sort of see them through with this. Next there is Arsenal Wolves. Arsenal going for the title this season. I very much think they could do it. Wolves, I'm not been overly impressed with some of the signings and how much they have strengthened, but I still give credit to Gary O'Neill. I think he is sort of a very underrated manager, but I would probably go somewhere along the lines of 2-3-1 to, well, maybe 2 or 3-0 to Arsenal, actually, considering how good their defence has been last season, the fact that it's only an area that has been strengthened. Quick look over Everton and Brighton. This is a bit more of an even contest, although I think Brighton have strengthened very well. However, at Goodison, I think will balance things out fairly well. I mean, they've obviously made a few good signings themselves, and people like Ndai being able to keep hold of Branthwaite. We'll see how they do without Onana. But because they're playing at home, I think this is going to be a close one to call. Not to mention, if you've got a new manager, new style of play, how well that sort of does in the Premier League as opposed to sort of the second tier of German football, we will see. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 there. Newcastle Southampton, about 3-0 Newcastle. Southampton are going to have a rude awakening, I think, to the Premier League. Newcastle are a very strong team, especially at St James's Park. It's going to be a long old travel for the Southampton fans. I sort of do feel sorry for them to an extent, but this is the most obvious sort of home banker out of all of them, I think. And you've got Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth. These two teams, I'm kind of interested to see how they do, because I'm still unsure of Nuno Espirito Santo's style of play. I think he's got good attacking options, well, particularly on the counter-attack with people like Elanga, Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi. but I don't know if his style of football is going to sort of mesh with the players available to him. However, I think the City ground is going to be where Nottingham Forest pick up most of their points. Bournemouth, I don't know whether the deal's been done to get the new striker over the line, having recently lost Dominic Solanke. So I think they might struggle a little bit until the new signing sort of comes in, beds in a little bit. Forest at home, I'm going to back them on this one. I reckon 2-1 Forest. Then we've got West Ham Villa. This could be a close one. This could be an interesting one. I think West Ham at home will be tough for anyone, but I'm still unsure of what the Julian Lopetegui West Ham looks like. I think they've made good additions. I don't know how well those are going to mesh with his style of play. I'm also kind of interested by Aston Villa, as they've made a lot of changes as well within their team, having brought in Onana to replace sort of Douglas Luiz, having bought sort of fresh sort of exciting players like Jaden Philogene, how much sort of game time they potentially get, sort of the inclusion of Ian Matson. So there's going to be at least two or three new faces in that first 11 compared to the team previous season. But I think these fixtures are when teams start to just sort of feel each other out and work out what style of, because there's no sort of set. We're trying to work out a set style of play with new players. I mean, teams will get wise as to other teams' tactics. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here, I think. Then we'll have a quick look at Brentford Crystal Palace. Very unsure of them. Thomas Frank is a very pragmatic manager. Yeah, how much is Ivan Toney's head sort of in this? Is he going to try and force through a move? Is he going to play because he's in the last year of his contract? Crystal Palace under Oliver Glasner at the end of the season looked very strong and looked so exciting, and everyone's very excited to see how well they do this coming season, whether sort of the people sort of catch on to his potential tactics. I think this could be one of the more high scoring games of the weekend. I'm going to go for that one, a 2-2. And then rounding it off on the Sunday, we've got Chelsea and Man City. I mean, it could be anyone's guess as to what 11 Chelsea play, what goalkeeper they go with out of the 8 or 9 options. Manchester City, it takes them a while to usually get going. Not necessarily sort of sure if their new signing, sort of Savio's going to get involved. But, I mean, this just feels like even if City, who traditionally start slowly, do that, I still think this is a comfortable one for them, even at Stamford Bridge. I'd probably go 2-3-1 Manchester City. But let me know what you guys sort of think, sort of going into the Premier League season, and any sort of likes and sort of comments below, and I'll happily get back to them. Besides that, I'm sort of I realised I rushed through that incredibly quickly. So I'm sort of going to have a quick look over some of the other news. Sort of briefly, we've got sort of the American business owner Texler interested in buying Everton off of Mashiri. I'm kind of excited and hopeful that this happens. I think the league is stronger with a strong Everton in it. It's not a team that when I was a lot younger on a David Moyes Everton team, used to seeing them sort of being very scrappy, very hard to beat, and looking at sort of UEFA Cup, or I suppose Europa League sort of positions, and they've just sort of fallen off. So I would very much like to see that business deal get done. Arsenal in talks to sign Mikel Merino. I know Zubamendi's deal for Liverpool fell through. However, Real Sociedad are going to end up losing someone potentially, and I think this could be Merino. Small amount of Premier experience at Newcastle. Obviously did very well in the Euros, and I think this is someone that could add a great deal of balance to that midfield, as I think that's what Arsenal are crying out for, as well as many people do point out, a number 9. But I think this only strengthens the case for Arsenal to lead a very strong title charge. Besides that, sort of, I suppose a bit smaller news. Yves Bissouma sort of suspended from Spurs over laughing gas. I can't believe you just get some players that just, I think he's 26, 27. You've got to just, you're Premier League football, you've got to get wise to what sort of things you're doing. I know it's sort of your holidays and you're having a bit of fun, but this was done sort of like pre-season, building up to a new campaign. The manager suspends you early on. There's been plenty of midfield reinforcements at Spurs. He could really struggle to get back into the team. He looked very good at the start for Spurs last season and fell off. And someone that could potentially be looking at his way out of the team if he doesn't sort of seriously buck his ideas up, and will now have to force his way back into the team. He's only building himself a bigger hill to climb. And then I suppose the even smaller news, because it's Ipswich, of Ed Sheeran buying a very small stake in Ipswich, as he was originally the main shirt sponsor for Ipswich Town, didn't originally have a stake in the club, unlike Ollie Palmer, the Wrexham striker, seems to think with his impassioned speeches on Ben Foster's podcast. However, it's only a small stake. I mean, he's a person that regularly goes to many of the Ipswich games, having an executive box there, diehard fan, and the club always wants to get him involved, sort of for any sort of positive publicity, as it were, to sort of get their sort of favourite son behind it all. And that's a good quick roundup of news at the moment. Bit of a preview into the fixtures. I'm going to have to work on a few different sort of structures. I'm not going to go around sort of previewing every single game every single week, unless people really want. That's what I think for the start of the Premier League. Let me know how you think your team's sort of going to get on this sort of opening weekend, or how well your team is currently getting on if you are someone that supports a team in the EFL. Thank you very much. We'll see you all later.